In the heart of the Ethiopian highlands, where the air is thin and the mountains pierce the clouds like the ramparts of a forgotten world, a secret has been kept for 3 millennia. It is a truth so profound, it echoes in the chants of hooded priests and is guarded within the silent, watchful eyes of a solitary monk. This monk dedicates his life to a single, sacred object, locked away in a small, unassuming chapel in the holy city of Aksum. Here, in this ancient land of rock-hewn churches and empires that once rivaled Rome, an entire civilization holds fast to a belief that would rewrite biblical history. They believe they are the direct descendants of a lost kingdom of Israel, and that within their midst rests the most sought-after relic in human history as the Ark of the Covenant itself. This breathtaking claim forces us to confront a mystery that has haunted scholars and theologians for centuries. What truly happened to the 10 lost tribes of Israel after they were violently ripped from their homeland by the Assyrian war machine? Could their long and winding path of exile have led them not to oblivion, but here, to the vast and diverse continent of Africa, where their legacy was woven into the very fabric of powerful empires and enduring cultures? Our story begins not in Africa, but in the dusty, sun-baked hills of the ancient Near East in the 8th century BC. The once proud northern kingdom of Israel found itself caught in the iron grip of a rising superpower, the Assyrian Empire. This was a relentless force of nature clad in bronze and iron, whose kings, Shalmaneser V and then Sargon II, laid siege to the capital city of Samaria with a brutality that shattered a nation. The biblical account tells us that the people were deported, exiled to distant cities of the Medes, vanishing from the historical record as a distinct people. They became the stuff of legend, the 10 lost tribes. Their fate became a blank page upon which countless theories have been written, from migrations to the far reaches of Asia and Europe, to fantastical journeys across the Atlantic. But one of the most compelling and persistently argued narratives points decisively south, across the unforgiving sands of the Sinai Peninsula and into the heart of Africa. This is a theory supported not by mere speculation, but by a rich tapestry of ancient texts, startling cultural parallels, and the unshakable living traditions of African peoples themselves. The most famous of these connections is the epic, sweeping saga of the Queen of Sheba. Her story is immortalized in the Hebrew Bible, the Quran, and given its most elaborate form in the Ethiopian national epic, the Kebra Nagast, or the Glory of the Kings. This sacred text tells of a powerful, brilliant, and wealthy monarch, Queen Makeda, who ruled the kingdom of Sheba, a land widely believed by scholars to be located in the region of modern-day Ethiopia and Yemen. She journeyed to Jerusalem to test the legendary wisdom of King Solomon, bearing caravans laden with gold, precious gems, and rare spices. The Kebra Nagast, however, expands this meeting into a divine romance. It details how from their union was born a son, Menelik I, whose name means son of the wise man. When Menelik came of age, he traveled to his father's court in Jerusalem, where he was anointed and celebrated. Upon his return to his mother's kingdom, he was accompanied by a grand retinue of the firstborn sons of the Israelite nobility and priests. Then, in a moment of profound theological and historical significance, this group, fearing the spiritual desolation of returning to a land without the central focus of their worship, secretly smuggled the Ark of the Covenant out of the Holy of Holies in Solomon's temple and brought it to Ethiopia. According to the fervent belief of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, it resides to this very day in the Chapel of the Tablet, adjacent to the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Aksum, guarded by a single, vowed guardian who is its sole human contact. This claim, if substantiated, would not only revolutionize our understanding of religious history, but would establish an unbreakable, physical, and spiritual link between the Davidic monarchy and the Horn of Africa. It effectively makes the Solomonic dynasty that ruled Ethiopia for centuries the literal scions of the House of David. But the connections run far deeper than a single royal lineage and plunge us into the story of an entire people. The Beta Israel, the House of Israel, the Jews of Ethiopia. For nearly 2,000 years, they lived in isolated, fortified communities in the Simeon Mountains and around the shores of Lake Tana. They practiced a form of Judaism that included strict observance of the Sabbath, kosher dietary laws, the celebration of Passover, and the maintenance of a hereditary priesthood. Yet their traditions also contained elements that hinted at a profound antiquity. Their practice had evolved in complete isolation from the rabbinic Judaism that developed in the centuries after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD.
Gather round, children. Let us learn from the ancient texts, for this wisdom shapes our future. It is said in the old scriptures that our people will be delivered from suffering.
They had their own holy texts, written in the ancient Ge'ez language, their own prayers, and their own powerful oral traditions. These traditions spoke of being descendants of the tribe of Dan, one of the very lost tribes who fled south during the cataclysmic Assyrian invasion. They traveled through the lands of Egypt and Nubia before finding refuge in the highlands of Ethiopia. There, they lived as a separate, often persecuted, but fiercely independent community, skilled as potters, weavers, and metalworkers, preserving their faith against all odds. Their story reached its climax in the dramatic modern exodus to Israel in the top-secret airlifts of Operation Moses in 1984 and Operation Solomon in 1991. This journey was not a conversion to a new faith, but a long-awaited return to a homeland their ancestors had never forgotten. It stands as a powerful, emotional testament to the endurance of an identity that had survived across thousands of years and thousands of miles. The evidence for their Israelite origins is not merely rooted in their own steadfast tradition. In the 9th century AD, a mysterious Jewish traveler named Eldad ha-Dani appeared in North Africa and later in Spain. He claimed to be from a powerful, independent Jewish kingdom in East Africa, inhabited by the tribes of Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. His detailed descriptions of their laws, customs, and geography bore striking and compelling resemblances to those later documented among the Beta Israel. When the Beta Israel were finally encountered by the wider Jewish world in the 16th and 17th centuries, rabbinic authorities across Europe and the Middle East engaged in fierce debates about their status. Some, like the renowned Radbaz, Rabbi David ibn Abi Zimra of Egypt, concluded emphatically that they were indeed descendants of the tribe of Dan, a lost fragment of the Israelite people who had found a sanctuary in Africa. Yet the trail of the lost tribes does not end in the highlands of Ethiopia. It winds further west along the ancient, dusty trans-Saharan trade routes to the Lemba people of southern Africa. This Bantu-speaking group, spread across Zimbabwe and South Africa, possesses an oral history that preserved a remarkable narrative. It tells of ancestors who came from a place called Senna, far to the north, a land across a great water. These ancestors carried with them a sacred drum-like object, the Ngoma Lungundu, the voice of God, which they transported through their generations of wandering. They adhered to strict dietary taboos, practiced circumcision, and maintained a hereditary priesthood known as the Buba clan, the exclusive guardians of their most sacred rites. For centuries, this was considered an intriguing but unverifiable ethnic myth. Then, the advent of modern genetic science provided a stunning breakthrough. DNA analysis of the Lemba people, and particularly the men of the priestly Buba clan, revealed a strikingly high frequency of the Cohen modal haplotype. This is a specific set of DNA sequences on the Y chromosome that is distinctively and strongly associated with the Jewish priestly line, the Kohanim, who are traditionally understood to be the descendants of Aaron, the brother of Moses. This genetic signature originated in the Middle East and is found in significantly higher proportions in Jewish populations around the world. Its powerful presence among the Lemba, especially concentrated in their priestly line, provides a breathtaking scientific corroboration for their oral histories. It suggests that somewhere in their deep past, there was a significant influx of Israelite or Jewish ancestry, most likely from Yemeni Jewish traders, who traveled the monsoon routes across the Indian Ocean and integrated into African societies, bringing their traditions and their priestly lineage with them. This is a physical, biological thread connecting a people in the heart of southern Africa to the ancient temples of the Levant. And still, the web of connections stretches even further into the vibrant and complex cultures of West Africa. Among the Yoruba people of Nigeria and Benin, whose religious traditions are now overlaid with Islam and Christianity, we find deep, foundational layers of older belief. Scholars like the pioneering Dr. John Henrik Clarke and others have pointed to remarkable and uncanny parallels with early Hebrew customs. These include the concept of a single, supreme god, Olodumare, who is served by a pantheon of lesser emissaries, or orishas, not entirely unlike the angelic host in Judeo-Christian tradition. We also see specific practices, such as animal sacrifice for atonement, ritual purification before worship, and the symbolic use of blood in ceremonies. Their creation myths and flood narratives bear a striking and detailed resemblance to those found in the Book of Genesis. Even some of their tribal names and traditional facial scarification patterns have been speculatively linked by some researchers to specific Israelite tribes. Meanwhile, in Ghana, the House of Israel community in Sefwi-Wiauso, a group that has consciously embraced Jewish practice in recent decades, does so based on a firm and deeply held conviction. They believe their ancestors were Hebrews who migrated west after the cataclysmic destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans in 70 AD, carrying with them certain artifacts and traditions that were preserved in secret over generations. This is a memory that has been reawakened and reclaimed. While these West African connections are often more controversial within academic circles and lack the definitive genetic evidence that supports the Lemba narrative, they represent a powerful and growing movement of identity reclamation. It is a profound desire to connect to a biblical heritage that many feel was systematically stripped from them during the unspeakable trauma of the transatlantic slave trade. It is a search for a noble and ancient past in the face of a history of brutal subjugation. This points to the deeper, more profound reason why the question of lost tribes in Africa is so electrically charged and emotionally resonant. This is not merely a dry academic historical puzzle. It is a story about identity, belonging, and the radical rewriting of a narrative. For too long, the standard narrative has placed Africa on the periphery of biblical and world history. The theory we have explored suggests a different reality. It posits that the great empires of Aksum, the warrior kingdoms of the Zagwe, the traders of the Swahili coast, the artists of the Benin bronzes, and the builders of Great Zimbabwe may have contained within their lineages and their cultural memory the indelible legacy of the ancient Israelites. This positions Africa not as a passive recipient of foreign influence, but as an active, central, and dynamic player in the epic drama of the ancient world. It is a continent that provided refuge and a new homeland for a people fleeing extinction. In doing so, it absorbed their stories and their bloodlines into the immense and diverse tapestry of African civilization. This is the final, powerful testament. The story of the lost tribes in Africa is ultimately a testament to the enduring, unbreakable human spirit and our timeless, universal quest for home. This is Echoes of Africa. Remember your root.